I'll never forget the sound of that laugh, the laugh that didn't belong to me, echoing from behind my own bedroom door. You know, they say betrayal has a sound, and for me, it was that muffled chuckle mixed with her voice, playful, intimate, like she was living someone else's life. My chest tightened, my palms were sweaty, and for the first time in 20 years, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to know I'd wrapped up work early. And yet, as I walked up the driveway, there it was, his truck, big, bold, parked in my spot as if he owned it. I should have turned around, maybe spared myself the sight, but something inside me pushed me forward. And the closer I got to that window, the more my gut screamed at me, "Don't look. Don't confirm what you already know." But I looked, and in that split second, everything shattered. My wife, the woman I'd trusted with every ounce of me, was tangled up with another man on the very bed we'd built our life around. It wasn't just cheating. It was like watching my entire history burn down in real time. I froze. My body wanted to storm in, flip the bed, scream, fight, but my mind whispered something colder. Walk away. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you break. So I walked. But that walk, it wasn't toward healing. No, that walk was the beginning of something darker. Because betrayal doesn't just crush you, it changes you. And in that moment, I didn't just lose my wife. I lost the version of myself that trusted people blindly. And here's where things take a turn you probably don't expect. I didn't just end my marriage. I ended his. You know, if you had asked me just a few weeks ago, I would have told you I had a good marriage. Not perfect, but good. The kind of partnership people envy quietly. My wife and I had been together nearly 20 years. We grew up together in many ways. Went from cheap pizza nights and hand-me-down furniture to vacations, wine tastings, and planning for kids. She wasn't just my wife, she was my best friend. Or at least I thought she was. We had this rhythm, this silent understanding of each other. Or maybe it was blind faith on my part. I worked long shifts out of town, the kind that left me exhausted but proud, because I thought I was building something for us. And she was the social one, the one always catching up with friends, going to yoga, late-night drinks after work. I told myself it was good for her, that she deserved her space. Meanwhile, I was the guy rolling into bed alone, comforted only by the idea that she'd be there in the morning. Looking back now, the red flags were practically waving in my face. The late-night texts she quickly tucked away. The unknown numbers that would hang up the moment I answered. That one time she came home at 4 a.m. claiming the taxi never showed and her friend needed just a few more drinks. Or when she swore she was at a girls' night, but I could swear I heard a man's voice through the phone. My gut spoke, but my heart shut it down every single time. Because who wants to believe the person you've built your whole life around is rehearsing excuses in the mirror while you're breaking your back to keep the lights on? And here's the bitter irony. I was actually planning a getaway for us. A romantic trip, something to bring us closer because I thought maybe we'd been drifting. Imagine that. While I was booking wine tours and scenic rooms, she was booking excuses. I guess that's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't just break trust. It makes you question your own memory. Was she ever really mine? Or was I just holding a role while someone else was waiting in the wings? But denial only carries you so far. And when I walked into that driveway, saw that truck, and heard that laugh, denial died instantly. The funny thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It tiptoes in, drip by drip, until the flood finally bursts. For months, little cracks had been forming, but I kept patching them over with excuses. Take the late-night texting, for example. I'd glance over and see her screen light up past midnight. Work friends, she'd say. Or yoga. Always yoga. Funny thing is, for someone who supposedly went to yoga every week, she wasn't getting any more flexible. But I brushed it off, laughed even, told myself, she deserves her hobbies. Then came the unknown calls. I'd pick up her phone when it was closer to me, something we'd always done without a second thought. Except this time, the line would go dead. Just silence. Spam calls, she'd say. And I believed her. Because that's what trust does. It blinds you until you can't tell smoke from fire. And then there was the night she stumbled in after 4 a.m. I remember waking up alone, dialing her number over and over with no answer. By the time she finally called back, her voice was slurred, blaming the lack of taxis, said she was stranded. When I picked her up, she reeked of someone else's cologne, but I convinced myself it was the bar, or maybe her friends. That's what a man in love does. He gaslights himself to protect the illusion. But the lies started stacking, one on top of the other. A so-called girls' night where I swore I heard a man's voice in the background. A weekend trip where she came back more tired than relaxed. Little things, small inconsistencies that gnawed at me at 2 a.m. when the house was quiet. And here's the part that really twists the knife. I thought I was the problem. I told myself maybe I wasn't giving her enough attention. Maybe I'd been too focused on work. So I planned that vineyard getaway, a little escape for just the two of us. My attempt to repair something I didn't even realize she'd already destroyed. Looking back, it's like watching a slow-motion car crash. You see the headlights, you hear the brakes screeching, but you still pray it won't hit you. Except it did. And when it finally collided, it was worse than I ever imagined. Because catching her wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. It all came crashing down on a quiet Thursday afternoon. I wasn't even supposed to be home. My crew had wrapped early, and instead of wasting hours on the road the next day, I thought, why not surprise her? We had a trip planned the following morning, our romantic getaway. I figured she'd be thrilled to see me a day sooner. But the second I pulled into the driveway, my stomach sank. There it was, that truck. Shiny, polished, sitting in my space like it belonged. I'd seen it before too. The neighbor once joked about me having a new ride, and I laughed it off. But now it felt like the punchline was on me. I should have barged through the front door, demanded answers. That's what every angry husband in the movies does. But in reality, I froze. My pulse was pounding so hard it drowned out every sound around me. And yet there was something else. A laugh, low, masculine, and then hers. Sweet, playful. The laugh I thought was mine alone. I crept around the side of the house, heart racing, palms slick. The bedroom window was cracked open, curtains swaying like they were mocking me. I shouldn't have looked. God, I shouldn't have looked. But I did. And what I saw, it was like stepping into some alternate universe. There they were. My wife, the woman I'd promised forever to, tangled up with him in our bed. The sheets I'd slept under, the pillows that still carried my scent, now soaked with betrayal. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream. I didn't break the window like my rage begged me to. Instead, I walked away. My legs felt like they were made of lead, every step heavier than the last. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. Nothing would ever be the same again. That moment, watching her, hearing her, realizing the truth I'd been denying, it broke something inside me. And once something breaks like that, you can't glue it back together. You can only decide what to do with the shards. And me? I decided I wasn't just going to let it slide. If my marriage was going down in flames, I was going to make damn sure hers and her lovers did too. The days that followed were a blur, like someone had drained all the color out of my world. The house felt haunted. Every corner whispered reminders of her. The mug she left half full on the counter, the faint smell of her perfume clinging to the closet, the indentation on her side of the bed. But she wasn't my wife anymore. Not in my eyes. She was a stranger who'd trespassed into my life and set fire to it. I didn't confront her right away. No yelling, no accusations. I went quiet, and that silence scared her more than anything I could have shouted. She tried to act normal, asked me about dinner, laughed at TV shows, even leaned in for a kiss. And every time I felt sick, but I played along, nodding, smiling faintly, all while my brain was cataloging everything. Her lies, her schedule, her patterns. At night I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying that laugh in my head. My hands itched to expose them, to drag their secret into the light. But instead of lashing out, I decided to be patient. Because betrayal teaches you one thing above all. The person who hurt you thinks you're blind. And when someone underestimates you, that's when you hold all the power. So I started building a plan. I gathered evidence, phone records, receipts, even photos when I happened to cross paths with them. Each piece was like a brick in the wall I was constructing between the man I had been and the man I was becoming. But it wasn't just about revenge. Somewhere in the middle of all that pain, I started seeing myself differently. I picked up habits I'd long abandoned. Running, lifting, even cooking for myself. I reached out to old friends I'd neglected during the marriage. Slowly, piece by piece, I began remembering who I was before her. And let me tell you, That realization was more intoxicating than any act of revenge I could have pulled. Still, don't get me wrong, revenge was coming, and when it did, it wouldn't just burn bridges. It would collapse entire highways because she wasn't the only one who had something to lose. He did too, and I knew exactly where to strike. Didn't explode the way she probably expected. No storming into the bedroom, no Hollywood scene with dishes shattering against the wall. Instead, I waited, quiet, calculated, because I knew if I played this right, I could take everything she'd been sneaking around for and turn it into her worst nightmare. First came the evidence. Photos, call logs, receipts neatly stacked in a folder. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted it airtight, ironclad. No wiggle room for her crocodile tears or his excuses. And when the time came, I dropped that folder right onto the attorney's desk like a hammer. Watching his eyebrows shoot up as he flipped through the pages was the first real taste of satisfaction I'd had in weeks. Then came the reveal. Oh, and let me tell you, I couldn't have scripted it better. I invited her to lunch at our favorite little cafe. She thought it was a peace offering, maybe even reconciliation. She walked in smiling, hair done, perfume heavy. And I just slid the divorce papers across the table with that neat little folder on top, her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out, just a soft gasp. And when she finally found her voice, she whispered, "Who showed you this?" I leaned back, calm as ever, and said, "You did." But here's the part that really stung for her. I didn't just expose her to me. I exposed her to him. His wife got a copy of that same folder. And let's just say, his shiny truck didn't stay in my driveway much longer. Rumor has it he's living out of it now. Funny how life works, huh? As for her, well, reality hit hard. She lost the house, the comfort, the stability. Suddenly, all those girls' nights turned into lonely nights. And me? I walked away lighter, freer, with the kind of peace you only earn when you've walked through fire and made it out without letting the flames consume you. And the sweetest part? I didn't raise my voice once. I didn't need to. Because when someone builds their empire on lies, sometimes the best revenge is just letting gravity do its job. You know, people always ask me if I regret the way I handled it. If I wish I'd kicked down that door, screamed at the top of my lungs, thrown their clothes out onto the street, and maybe, in the heat of the moment, that would have felt good. But here's the truth. Silence and patience were my sharpest weapons. Because they gave me control. I didn't just lose a wife, I lost the illusion of who I thought she was. And yeah, that hurt. It cut deeper than anything I've ever experienced. But sometimes, losing the wrong person is the only way to find yourself again. Today, I live lighter. I laugh louder. I've got my friends back, my hobbies, even a sense of peace I didn't know I was missing. And I look back at that version of myself, the man who thought love meant blind trust, who ignored every red flag, and I don't pity him anymore. I thank him, because without that heartbreak, I never would have grown into the man I am now. And here's the kicker. She tried to crawl back. Months later, she sent me a message saying she made a huge mistake, that she missed what we had. I didn't even respond, because the real revenge isn't slamming the door in someone's face. It's showing them that you've built a life so full, so rich that there's no room for them anymore. So if you're watching this, sitting in the ashes of betrayal, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, listen closely. Betrayal might feel like the end of your story, but trust me, it's not. It's just the plot twist that sets you free. And freedom, my friend, tastes better than any revenge ever could.